have the president in the United Kingdom, aren't they? But look who's turned up like a bad penny.
There's an alternative to economic division, social division and the rise of racism in our society.
Yes, Jeremy Corbyn, whose new party is in chaos before it's even got a proper name, couldn't resist sticking the knife into our closest ally. And finally,
for the very first time, migrants arriving via small boat will be detained and returned to France in short order.
Well, it wouldn't be news if we didn't have even more bad news for Sir Keir Starmer. Yes, it turns out the Home Office has backed a charity that provides migrants with a step-by-step guide on how to avoid deportation. Joining me on this superstar panel tonight, the Director of Popular Conservatism, Mark Littlewood, the journalist and broadcaster, Nina Mishkov, and the Median and GBNews contributor, Nick Dixon. But before we get started, let's get your news with Katie Bowen.
Alex, thank you and good evening. The headlines at 2 minutes past 11. King Charles has spoken of the enduring bond between the UK and the US as he hosts President Donald Trump at a state banquet in Windsor Castle this evening. The King added that he has cherished the close ties between the two countries, saying that the special relationship has made the nations safer and stronger through the generations. Their Majesties are hosting the President and First Lady Melania alongside 160 other guests in St George's Hall, including Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer and other politicians and American business leaders.
This unique and important occasion reflects the enduring bond between our two great nations, anchored by the deep friendship between our people. This relationship, which, with good reason, we and our predecessors have long called special, has made us safer and stronger through the generations.
Well, in response, President Trump said it was truly one of the highest honours of his life to be on a second state visit to the UK. The President went on to say that His Majesty has raised a remarkable son in Prince William and praised Princess Catherine's radiance. He said the US-UK bond is priceless and eternal.
But this is truly one of the highest honours of my life. Such respect for you and such respect for your country. For many decades, His Majesty the King has epitomized the fortitude, nobility, and the spirit of the British monarchy and the British people. He's dedicated himself to preserving the glory and unique character of this kingdom.
Well, earlier, as the state visit began, the President and First Lady were joined by their Majesties for the beating retreat ceremony, which took place on the East Lawn at Windsor Castle and culminating in a fly-past from the RAF's Red Arrows. Also today, the President visited the tomb of Queen Elizabeth II to pay his respects to the late monarch. He laid a wreath at the tomb in St George's Chapel, which he called a great honour. Well, away from Windsor, protests against the historic second visit have been taking place in central London, organised by the Stop Trump Coalition. The Metropolitan Police estimate that up to 5,000 people have attended that protest today. The visit will continue tomorrow as attention turns to the political sphere. The Times is reporting tonight that Sir Keir Starmer will officially recognise Palestine this weekend, delaying the announcement to prevent the issue dominating talks with the US President tomorrow. American investment worth £150 billion has been unveiled tonight as part of that state visit. Reportedly, 7,600 high-quality jobs will be created across the country as a result of the influx of cash from big US firms, that's according to the government. The investment comes as Britain's steel industry has expressed disappointment as plans for 0% tariffs on steel exports to the US have been scrapped. The UK has paused its push to cut the levy, which currently stands at 25% to 0%, as originally agreed earlier this year. And away from the state visit, the Home Secretary has launched an urgent review of Britain's modern slavery laws after blaming, quote, vexatious last-minute claims which are frustrating the partial migrant returns deal with France. The Home Office confirmed that for a third day, no migrants left for France today. Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood says she will fight what she called intolerable efforts to frustrate removals at every step, confirming that the Home Office will appeal the High Court's decision yesterday to temporarily block the deportation of an Eritrean migrant to France. Shadow Home Secretary Chris Philp said that Shabana Mahmood is, quote, reacting in panic to the collapse of her gimmick returns deal. Those are your latest GB News headlines. Now let's go back to Alex.
For all the latest from GB News whilst you're on the go, get the GB News app. Scan the QR code now to download or visit gbnews.com/app.
Welcome back to Late Edition with me, Alex Armstrong. Let's get straight into Thursday's front pages, shall we? The Daily Telegraph, Home Office charities guide for migrants to avoid deportation. That's a big story there. We'll be digging into that. The front page of The Sun, the special bond. President hails UK at banquet as band plays 007. The Daily Express, my respect for you and Britain, of course, leading on the state visit. The Daily Mail, now Home Secretary blasts lefty lawyers. The Guardian, PM banks on £150 billion investment to placate critics of Trump visit. The Independent, Britain wheels out the Windsors to play its royal trump card. The Daily Mirror, back on the streets, Maddie suspect freed. The Metro, Trump and circumstance. And the Daily Star, heir to the throne. I think taking a bit of a hit on the hair there. There we go. Let's get the thoughts of my superstar panel, the Director of Popular Conservatives, I think, Mark Littlewood, the journalist and broadcaster, Nina Mishkov, and the political commentator and podcaster, Nick Dixon. You've retired.
Exactly. I've retired from comedy, so I'm very, very serious now. So I don't say anything funny.
That was quite funny.
I just have to comment.
That was quite funny itself, actually. Well, there you go. You're just naturally funny.
Yeah, I know, it's a gift. I can't help it.
All right. Listen, I think we have to start by looking at the front pages here. We have to talk about what happened today, don't we? We have to talk about the entire day. Maybe we just show you some quick pictures, shall we? Oh, not yet. OK, not yet. Beg your pardon. Quick pictures of me, perhaps, but there we go. Nina, you were with me watching this live.
Yes.
Always fascinating, isn't it, when we see this act of diplomacy played out in front of us? You know, it's a very weird thing to watch, isn't it?
It's fantastic because it's a huge pantomime. It's a massive, fantastical charade, and it always works because people are always overawed by the pomp. I mean, where else are you going to see this level of magnificence and, you know, splendour and the diamonds and, you know, the cutlery and, you know, work your way in from the outside to a president who's not much keen on what they call flatware there, i.e. cutlery in America, because he likes burgers, doesn't he?
He does.
And that's not required. So that in itself will be... I mean, he was very keen to get the protocol right because he wanted to get the protocol right. But no, it's fantastic to see. I was fascinated by something that Beverly Turner said on the previous show. She mentioned Rupert Murdoch's name. Now, Rupert Murdoch must be sitting only a few feet away from Donald Trump, who is currently suing him for how many? 10 million?
I think it's 11 billion. I think it's 11 billion.
Exactly. So it's extraordinary that an event like this can bring in the same room, breathing the same air, Murdoch and Trump.
Fascinating, because I was just on that point. Donald Trump famously sued his now equivalent health secretary, Robert F. Kennedy, which is really interesting. So Trump does sue a lot of people, perhaps he doesn't always necessarily mean it. Not sued anyone in the UK yet. What I'm really interested in, on your thoughts on this one, is the way the two speeches between King Charles and Trump were different. Now, King Charles was talking about close ties, and I listed these buzzwords: innovation, trade, exchange, close ties, shared discovery. Lots of words that indicate perhaps a nudge, wink, wink to a new trade deal.
Yeah, give us a great trade deal. Isn't trade brilliant? Let's hit like a toast to trade. Yeah, I see what you mean. And Trump was much more focused typically on himself. He was like, I think this is the second state visit. It's never been done before. Hopefully it will never be done again. Tremendous numbers, all that sort of thing. So yeah, he made it about himself a little bit. Yeah, very different tones, as you'd expect. Though Charles is very respectful with his toast to Melania and to the health of everyone in America. But they're definitely laying it on thick, as you say. King Charles, I should say, our king, let Trump walk in front of him, didn't he? Because there was a lot of misinformation on the internet. People are saying, why is Trump walking in front of the king? He did it last time by accident with our late beloved Queen. So this time they thought, just let him do it.
No, so this is really interesting. I mean, you might be right, but for what other royal commentators were saying, that was always the protocol. The guest should go first. But because of the proximity of them, it looked like he was, with Queen Elizabeth II, walking directly in front of her, although apparently, Mark, that was the protocol all along, and it was this time, even King Charles gestured to him to walk ahead, and then there was quite a big gap to deliberately leave the room. So this is almost, quite interestingly, like well, the first one was almost like a rehearsal.
Yeah. I mean, what you got to bear in mind here is that this whole event would have been protocoled to within an inch of its life, right? I mean, every single jot, tittle and comma would have been... This is like putting on a stage play, right? And it's worked very well, nothing's gone wrong, but this is on tram lines, right? I wonder whether... So Morgan McSweeney, who was there, could have probably breathed out. He could have predicted this was going to happen. I'm wondering what the papers in 24 hours' time will look like after they've had the unscripted press conference, right? That could go sideways fast. Yeah. This bit tightly controlled, very well controlled, but put a microphone in front of Trump and have some lefty journalists firing questions at him. Anything could happen.
Well, if the name Mandelson comes up and the name Epstein comes up, that's the thing.
It's fascinating, isn't it? Because that is this story, and I really expect tomorrow could go either way because of that one thing. And it's the one thing that ties both the Prime Minister and, of course, Donald Trump together. They both knew Mandelson.
And the King with Prince Andrew.
And, of course, absolutely right, the King with Prince Andrew. Epstein had his hands all over the place, so now all of these people are embroiled in the same scandal in one way or another.
It's a very weird time for this visit. Obviously, we've had the horrific murder of Charlie Kirk, but also we've had Starmer just under fire from all angles. Mandelson, but also the Ovenden thing where he had to go, the weird little bizarre scandal. And then the shouting at McSweeney, rumoured, "You're supposed to protect me," which sounds like the most hilarious thing ever. Just Starmer, "You're supposed to protect me." So it's a very strange time, isn't it, for this? He'll be asked about his relationship with Starmer. I'm told that... Well, I'm not told. I watched an interview with Steve Bannon. He said that Trump genuinely likes Starmer, whereas other people think he's just manipulating him. But I always think that's almost the same thing with Trump. If you have a relationship with Trump, he has to constantly be the one in charge and in power. Right? So is that different from any relationship? But I think he genuinely does like him, even though it makes no sense ideologically, just because he whimsically just likes people or dislikes them.
Yeah, I think that is probably right. But look, I mean, I don't know which journalists are going to ask which questions, but you can see a lot of potential grenades that could get lobbed in, right? I mean, Epstein's been mentioned, Mandelson's been mentioned. You know, I imagine a good number of journalists are going to ask the president what he thinks of the state of free speech in the United Kingdom. Yes. And I would not expect President Trump to be anything like as diplomatic tomorrow as he was at Windsor Castle tonight. Well,
Bev Turner, who joined us very briefly earlier on, was saying that he wasn't in a good spirits when he first arrived here. And, of course, I was covering the Trump landing at Winfield House, the US Ambassador's house, and we were expecting him to stand, because he did come over to the press at that time, and we were expecting him to give some comments, and he didn't. He gave very, very brief comments, which is so uncharacteristic.
He's overwhelmed by our pageantry.
I don't know. I don't know if he's 100% well, because when he was sitting there watching all the parading and up and down and bands playing, which was all rather magnificent, he looked colder and colder. He looked as if he felt cold, and he didn't look bored. He just didn't look
comfortable.
He didn't look comfortable, and I thought, I wonder how well he is. I mean, Camilla is supposed to have had sinusitis, and how they've got her together and on her feet and on parade. Something's happened there. They've managed that.
Many will say they've got miracle cures somewhere in the basement.
She's used to the miserable English weather. He is
Exactly.
not.
It has been very weird, oppressive weather that I haven't felt 100% the last couple of days. It has been quite an oppressive, weirdness about it. But, of course, Donald Trump, Nick, talked about the special bond, which is the front page of The Sun. Of course, there on the Daily Express, my respect for you and Britain. These are very generous ties, and it's lovely language he's been using to describe our country, Nick. And, of course, he called the Prince of Wales, the future king, his remarkable son.
Yeah. Well, he does love Britain, doesn't he? Everyone knows this. He loves Scotland particularly. He loves Britain. So we can use that to our advantage. He'll still negotiate very hard when it comes to trade deals, I'm sure. But, yeah, he does love Britain. I'm not quite sure if he's ill or if he's been traumatised by recent events.
Yes.
It also was genuinely just cold, wasn't it? I mean, the F-35 jets couldn't fly because of the weather. So we did get the amazing red arrows. But in a way, getting the English weather was also part of the experience. It probably just was also cold sitting out there for a long time. And he is sort of getting on a bit, so I don't know if... Because people are always saying Trump's ill, but it's yet to be proven.
Incredible energy, though, hasn't he? I mean, I don't think I could do what he does at my age, let alone... He's constantly online, he's constantly doing things. I find it very impressive. But he also described this, Nina, as one of the highest honours of his life. And he also went on to praise the Princess of Wales, Catherine, and said she was radiant and healthy. And beautiful.
That's an acknowledgement that she has been ill, obviously. Yeah. But also, as I said, he loves good-looking people. There's no way about it.
And she does look... I mean,
she looks stunning.
We can actually see her on the front page of one of the front pages coming up soon. If we go back to the Mail, you can see how beautiful the future Queen looks, Catherine there. Absolutely regal, Mark.
Yeah. Well, and, I mean, Trump, uncharacteristically for him, managed to keep that just the right side of the line, right? Radiant, beautiful. You can imagine him just putting in a couple of more American sort of vernacular adjectives which would have been inappropriate. So he has not put a foot wrong, and as I was saying earlier, unusual to see the President of the United States sticking pretty much word to word to the script in front of him.
Yeah, again, I go back to this sense of what the Americans wanted out of this versus what we wanted out of this. And when you look at the two scripts, and I've just got some notes here when I was listening to it, and you look at the two outputs, what's really fascinating is Trump praises historical ties. He praises our history. He even goes back to defeating Napoleon, fascism, and standing against communism. He talks about all those things. He never mentions the war in Ukraine once. Charles does. He calls this, of course, tyranny in Europe is what he calls it. But what's fascinating is Charles' speech is all about the now and the future, and Trump's is all about the past. And of course, Nick, Trump's past, his mother was Scottish. So in some way, it's almost like this harkening back to the time of his mother almost. It's a fascinating recount, isn't it?
Although didn't King Charles mention 1776?
He did, actually. You're right.
That's quite a long time ago.
There was. You're right. It goes back to the founding of it, and he did say he said what were the forebearers of the establishment of the United States of America, including his own 5-time removed great-grandfather, make of today.
Do you know what? You've got to say something at these things, and they drag on a bit. I'm going to be a little bit Peter Hitchens and say that a little bit of the special relationship can be overstated. We should remember during Suez, Eisenhower threatened to sell off the bonds, whatever, just completely bankrupt us or whatever. It got very hostile, and we revealed that we had no real power. The US, they're still very much in charge. Well, there's all this pageantry, but it's always, when it comes to negotiations, it's going to be exactly the same. US are going to be tough, as they always are.
But you said, interesting, you said, what does America want from? America doesn't care.
No, exactly.
It's what Trump wants.
Exactly right. You took the words... Sorry, I didn't quite get that. I don't know. I think I went off course. You actually took the words out of my mouth there, Nina. Anyway, look, coming up, we'll be joined by a man who worked for King Charles for more than 20 years to get his take on today's historic events. This is Patrick Christys tonight. A late edition with me, Alex Armstrong.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show Live starts Monday night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Well, Jeremy Clarkson is being praised for his role in inspiring the next generation of farmers. His documentary shows the ups and downs of British farm life, and now the Royal Agricultural University in Gloucestershire has credited it with a rise in applications. Good stuff, eh? We can now speak with the agriculture student at Gloucestershire's Hartpury University, Joseph Watkins. Joseph, thank you so much for joining me. What a scene you've got there. Do you think it's going to inspire another generation? You're a young man yourself. Has it inspired you at all?
For anyone watching, it's just amazing to see, isn't it? All the different steps they take, all the different revenues which they can create on farm. So I think it's really good for the public. And if it does something to help get people into the industry, I think that's an amazing thing. Agriculture has both a lack of skilled talent and just a lack of people in the industry anyway. So if someone wants to go and do a college course or university course to get into the agriculture industry because they watch Jeremy Clarkson, this old pot-bellied Top Gear man, then I think it's great. And I say that with all due respect. I love Top Gear.
Well, we were talking about the ups and downs of farm life. What are the first of all, let's start with the ups. What are the ups?
They're pretty beautiful ladies, you know, surrounded by 600 lovely ladies. That's certainly something. Working outside, you know, you're working with your hands. It's definitely a rewarding experience to be able to go home after a long day and think, right, everything's taken care of. All of these cows are all happy. Some of the downs, well, it's difficult, isn't it? You've heard this, I'm sure you know. The family farm tax has been in the news lately. But the early mornings, late nights, being away from friends and family, strenuous jobs, and often at times dangerous. So there's ups and downs to it, but as you can see now, I think the positives outweigh the negatives for me.
GB News, the People's Channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Well, I'm joined, welcome back, first of all. I'm joined by the royal commentator, Jack Stooks, who worked as a gardener for King Charles for 21 years. Jack, thank you so much for joining me. I think the first question I have to ask you is, what is King Charles like as a man, if you got to spend any time with him, of course?
He is an amazing person. I mean, we've seen him still battling cancer, and I mean, we see what he's doing. We see what he's doing tonight. We see what he does most of the days that he's actually at work. He is a trooper. He carries on regardless, and he is an amazing person. His wife, exactly the same. And I mean, the two of them together are a great powerhouse for each other. And I think it's just wonderful to see how well they're doing with the state visit.
Indeed. And what do you think King Charles would make of someone like Donald Trump?
Do you know, I do think, well, we've seen him looking really happy in Donald Trump's company, in Melania Trump's company. They've welcomed them in. This, for want of a better word, this is like, you're going to somebody's house for the weekend and they're going to pull out all the stops. And the royal family have welcomed them into their home. They are pulling out all the stops and they're giving them the best of the best for the few days that they've actually got them in the castle with them. And today has been, I think, an amazing day. It's been amazing for America and it's been amazing for England. I know people disapprove of some of Trump's, for want of a better word, ideas. Other people find them all amazing, but he does have some good qualities. He has some bad, just like we all do. And the British royal family have been asked by the government to welcome them in, and they've done just that. And I think they are doing fantastically. We've had an amazing day today. There's going to be an equally amazing day tomorrow. I know President Trump will be more with the government tomorrow, but I think Melania will spend a bit more time in the castle, a little bit more at leisure, and then go with the Princess of Wales and and see the scouts. So I think that will be quite a nice day tomorrow as well.
Fantastic stuff. And King Charles is quite the horticulturalist himself, isn't he? So he enjoys being out in the garden and being with the flowers. And, of course, he's a famous environmentalist too. During the banquet today, flowers handpicked from Windsor Castle, Savile Garden in Windsor Great Park as well. How much do you think King Charles would have any input on that? Would he go that far?
Very much so. He's very much involved in what goes on in his gardens. He's extremely involved in his gardens at Highgrove. Even though it's been passed over to the foundation, he still very much knows what's going on in that garden week to week. And obviously, he's now taken on a lot more gardens. You know, we've seen Sandringham Garden is changing. We've seen Windsor Castle gardens are changing. We're seeing a lot more of the gardens are changing more to his style, and that is very much on him. It's not coming from anywhere else. So it's good to see. And you know, it's nice that we can see this in a banquet, that he's actually saying these are the plants I actually want on the table, rather than bringing in thousands of pounds worth of orchids that might just, you know, sort of come in and non-organic and not really to do with this sort of things that he's actually focusing on and has done at Highgrove for so long. So to see that's actually quite a good thing, I think, for the country. You know, he what he says he does, and he actually shows it, and I think that's fantastic for us to all see, especially on this kind of a stage that we're seeing tonight.
And Jack, what do you think he would have made of the arrangements of the flowers? And I'm asking this, of course, for your professional opinion, being a gardener yourself, but also a man that understands and knows Charles's taste in that. Mm-hmm. What would you have thought? What do you think he made of it all?
I thought it looked fantastic. I mean, I did have a look at the plants, obviously, you know, being horticulturalist myself, and they've been arranged perfectly well. They look amazing. You know, they're very colourful, and those plants, they won't just be wasted. They won't just be left overnight and then just thrown out. They'll be gifted on. They'll be taken to old age homes. They'll be gifted on to people to enjoy for further use and for as long as they are alive. And, you know, that's also something that the king is greatly involved in, and the queen herself. And at Highgrove, we used to see that in the early days when I was at Highgrove. If there was an excess of apples, for instance, you'd find that people would take them to old age homes within the area and gift them to old age homes. And so things were never wasted. And I think he's very much that kind of a person. He doesn't like waste. And even on this scale, a sort of massive banquet where you would think there would be waste, there's not going to be waste because he just won't have it any other way.
Brilliant stuff. Well, Jack Stoots, thank you so much for joining me, royal commentator there, and a man who worked for the King as gardener for 21 years. Brilliant stuff. Thank you, Jack. Let's bring in the panel, shall we? I'd like to move on to a slightly different story now, because we've done a lot of the state banquet, and I think we may have exhausted, but we're probably going to have to talk about it all night. Let's go to the front page of the Telegraph, because this is a big story. More humiliation and headache for Sir Keir Starmer. Of course, this one-out deal that was heralded as the big plan, almost, at least to start some deportations back to France. Well, we know now it was blocked by the High Court. But the Telegraph are reporting the Home Office charity has a guide for migrants to avoid deportation. This is a step-by-step advice for asylum seekers to beat Starmer's one-in, one-out flagship policy. Nick, this is egg on his face, isn't it? He must have known this was going to happen. I asked myself the question, how could it get worse than not being able to deport one single migrant? And the Telegraph provides the answer. They're actually paying for this. So for over 400,000 in comic relief donations goes to this charity, BID, and it gives out these template letters, and it tells you how to sort of, I don't want to say scam the system, but how to work the system, the legal and human rights arguments, these sort of human rights that are absolutely crippling our country. And it's just unbelievable. The Home Office is essentially paying. It's not quite as simple that they're paying to block their own policies, but it's not that far off that. Isn't that just absolutely incredible? And Mahmood's coming in saying she's going to be all tough and everything, but we can't deport a single migrant, and we're paying charities to tell you how to get out of deporting anyone. It's insanity. It really is. And just to say on this headline here, because we did bring you a different version of it earlier on, because the Telegraph actually changed it. Originally, the Telegraph's headline was going to say Home Office charity blocks the deportation, but they've changed it now to this guide for avoiding deportation. But Nina, besides the point, Keir Starmer's a human rights lawyer. He wrote the book on this, quite literally. He should have known this was coming.
I don't know if he wrote this exact book.
But one of them, yeah.
The pamphlet.
This is not. He appoints people to make these decisions and to oversee it. And to be fair, the Telegraph is very slanted because Comic Relief, for instance, have said they haven't funded them since August 2023. And in fact, the Home Office said last night that the leaflets from the charity giving its contact details had been distributed previously under an agreement with the Tory government, but this arrangement has ended. So who do we believe? The Telegraph, whose job it is to bring the Labour government down, or a Home Office actual, statement?
Indeed.
Are they going to be caught out by that?
I personally believe that the Tories were awful on this as well.
Yes. Yeah, Mark.
I think that's a bit angels on the head of a pin, Nina. I mean, the problem we've got isn't so much whether the leaflets stopped in August 2023 or August 2024, whether they were distributed under the Conservatives or under Labour. It's that this sort of behaviour is endemic in the immigration system, right? So the Home Office is not typically telling you what your duties are and 10 key questions we want a good goddamn answer to if you're going to stay in Britain. No. What they want to make sure is that you're completely aware of how you can be stopped being sent even to France.
Yeah.
I mean, I had a little bit, not much sympathy, but an iota of sympathy when Parliament said, we think Rwanda's safe, and the court said, we don't. OK, I think Parliament should have prevailed. But I at least think you can have an argument about that of some sort.
Yeah.
We can't even send one person to France.
But have you seen France recently? It is pretty dark.
It is pretty dark.
But France doesn't want them.
No.
That's the whole point.
But that's absolutely right.
We don't want them either.
We don't want to send them.
At least we don't.
So therefore, we have to get France to agree. And this
But they have agreed.
They've
agreed to one in, one out,
this.
and we can't get one person on the aeroplane.
I agree. This is completely idiotic. And the trouble is, the Home Office has for years been completely ungovernable, completely unfit for purpose. And Yvette Cooper obviously couldn't actually lash them into shape. And they are either through sloth or just sheer incompetence.
It's the law.
But they are not doing what they should be doing, which is processing people quickly, getting them through the system, actually looking what the Home Office should have done with this. They should have looked at the legal requirements, because I had understood that before, when Yvette Cooper was announcing this, that any legal dispute was going to take place on French soil. That obviously wasn't the case. But the Home Office themselves should have made this legally watertight, and they have failed to do that.
Might I say this? There's obviously so much more to this story, including whether or not French migrants will be arriving here on Saturday, right? This could be the worst part of this story yet, despite all of this charity stuff. We're going to dig into that next, because I genuinely think this is going to be, it could be a make or break on this whole deal, Frank. This whole thing could collapse before it's even started. But a spokesman for Comic Relief has said this. Comic Relief does not currently fund bail for immigration detainees. Between May 2016 to August 2023, Comic Relief funded bail for immigration detainees with a grant totalling £420,000. The grant was used to support bail for immigration detainees' casework and outreach. There has been no further funding since August 2023. And a Home Office spokesman has said the Home Office does not provide any leaflets relating to this charity to individuals in immigration removal centres. There we go. Coming up, we'll cross to the United States to find out what people there think about the President's state visit. This is Patrick Christys, Tonight Late Edition with me, Alex Armstrong.
Hello again and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. During the next 24 hours we can expect misty and damp weather to continue in the south whilst it stays mild. Further north, clearer, fresher but also very breezy as this area of low pressure moves into the north of Scotland. Isobars tighten, strong winds overnight along with heavy showers and longer spells of rain for the Northern Isles, the Outer Hebrides into the Northwest Highlands. But for the rest of Scotland, breezy, yes, however, all that combined with clear spells, as well as Northern Ireland, Northern England seeing clear spells at times overnight. In the south, Wales, across the Midlands, the south of England, it's going to be a misty night with a lot of low cloud outbreaks of light rain and drizzle, but a mild start to Thursday with temperatures of 17 or 18 first thing. Now, the rain and drizzle across the south of England will ease through the morning. It will push further north into Wales, but for northern England, Northern Ireland, as well as for much of the south and east of Scotland, plenty of bright weather first thing. However, there will be a keen breeze, and that strong wind across the north and northwest of Scotland will continue to drive heavy showers and longer spells of rain in as the day goes on, but those showers becoming fewer later on from the west. The rain in the south will move north, and so after a bright start to the day, northern England, southern Scotland, Northern Ireland turn wet into the afternoon. The rain not quite reaching the central belt, 18 Celsius here, but it's very warm in the south as skies brighten, 23 or 24 Celsius. An even warmer day expected on Friday in the southeast, with temperatures reaching the mid-20s in places. Likewise, it's bright but cool across much of Scotland, Northern Ireland, and for parts of northwest England, but in between there will be spells of wet weather through Friday, and that rain will be fairly extensive as we start the weekend before gradually getting drier next week.
Westminster, the ultimate clique. And you're fighting like rats in a sack. But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask. OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician. Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits. You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and now you've lost it. That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless. But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show. Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around, a nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m. only on GB News.
Welcome back to you, Patrick Christys tonight. Late edition with me, Alex Armstrong. Let's get more on Donald Trump's second state visit to the UK. I'm joined now by US political commentator Hilary Fordwich. Hilary, thank you so much for joining me. I'm so interested to hear the American perspective on tonight. The speeches were by Donald Trump and the King, of course, himself. Very, very, very unusual from what we see from Trump normally. We never really see him holding a piece of paper and reading a script. We see him just projecting what he thinks very often. What did you make of it, Hilary?
Well, what I make of it and what I think the American public make of it and the media make of it might be three different things. And I can't say what every American thinks, but this is what my feedback is. He was so, I thought, eloquent, and he stuck to script. And I thought if he actually was more like that more often, so many of his detractors might be brought on board and he might have even more support and even more voters, because I thought he did actually a really good, objectively job and was so articulate. Now, with regard to what's happening over here, I will say, because I see multiple screens, I've been in multiple studios today, that it is interesting, Alex, that the left-leaning media has done nothing but really sort of focus on the protesters that were in London. Oh. But I will say it looked like there were far fewer protesters than were expected. And the most important, actually, takeaway I have is I think that the left was looking and waiting for a lot of gaffes from President Trump. I can't name one. I don't know if you spotted one or anybody else did. Nope. I think he did a very good job, and his camaraderie and the spirit and the that he has with both King Charles and Prince William and Princess Catherine, I think was immensely evident.
I completely agree with you, Hilary. I think it's possibly, I mean, if you're looking at it from a liberal Democrat perspective, it's possibly the most presidential to them he would have been seen as. I mean, again, all of that rhetoric sort of died down. He did make one political-ish statement during his speech, which was he said, we had a sick country before going, obviously, to attribute Britain to the starting of America. So he did have a little jab, but it was only a very small part of his speech, which, again, is very uncharacteristic of Donald Trump. He also said something interesting at the top of his speech, and I don't think he meant this in any disrespect, but he said he hoped it's his last, which is, again, a little bit different to how we'd normally sort of play the press in America. We go, maybe I'll have another term, perhaps. So again, almost feeling for him, perhaps, like this is his last state visit to the United Kingdom, where he's going to get all this pomp and pageantry. And of course, his speech was very heavily focused on the history of the two countries.
Yes, it was. You're totally correct on all those points. I did think it was almost, it's funny you should say that, Alex, because I thought it was almost like sort of a farewell. I actually took note of when he mentioned also and acknowledged that King Charles and the then Prince Charles, when President Trump first knew him, and Donald Trump, before he was president, knew him, has always been focused on the environment. I thought it was very interesting that as from his perspective, he's not, usually focused on climate change and the rest of it, but he really acknowledged the work that King Charles has done for the environment. I thought that was very special. That was sort of this opening, non-political, very giving, sort of uncharacteristically magnanimous opening, which I thought was very important too. I also thought that, we both know that the royals don't make mistakes. Every single aspect of this was choreographed down to the place of the last spoon. So the fact that Princess Catherine was seated next to him and sat next to him during the state dinner, I thought was very interesting and important, as well as Prince William and Princess Catherine meeting them and greeting them when they first came to the US. So I thought that that was really quite significant.
Yes, and I've said this a few times tonight, Hillary, but again, I want to get what you think the American perspective on this might be, because the two speeches were very different from the King and from President Trump. Obviously, the King's speech goes through Downing Street, goes through the political order, but his speech was very focused on key words like trade and exchange and innovation, which, of course, is what this is all about for the Prime Minister. This is about him, getting those big investors on board in the United Kingdom. We, of course, have heard there's £150 billion of investment off the back of this event, so that Prime Minister will be heralding this as a massive success. Different from Trump, however. Different from Trump. He was not focused on any of the future. He was looking at the past. So two very different takes on the relationship there. What do you think the American press will make of that, or make anything of it at all? Will they care what the Brits want out of it?
Actually, no, I think they're very American-focused, Alex. I think that you're looking at this from a global perspective and very perceptive. I don't think that they're really going to focus on that. I think the biggest focus is the $42 billion AI tech pact that they made. And I think that is good for American businesses, American technologies. And I think that is predominantly what the conservative American press will focus on. And the left is going to focus on the fact that they were looking for any gaffes and there weren't any. And I think that the pomp and circumstance was great. I will say that it was wonderful when you saw the CEO of Newsmax actually seated so closely there, because I thought that was very good for Newsmax.
Indeed it was. Hillary Forwich, thank you so much for joining me to give us that interesting perspective on the American, what they thought of the whole thing. Anyway, coming up in just a moment, we've got a very special surprise to end the show. You're not going to want to miss it. This is Patrick Christys Tonight, latest edition with me, Alex Armstrong.
Dinner under the stars tonight?
That reminds me of our travel insurance.
You mean All Clear Skies?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News travel destinations forecast.
If you're thinking of avoiding the unsettled weather in the UK and heading overseas, you'll find very warm weather in Spain, across the Canaries, as well as Madeira, unusually warm for the time of year. Portugal likewise, but some showery rain affecting southern parts of Portugal. Meanwhile, plenty of sunshine through Spain into the Alps, much of Italy as well, turning hotter here over the next few days. Staying breezy for Greece, particularly the islands, but most places enjoying long spells of sunshine.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News travel destinations forecast.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
It's Patrick Christys tonight, and here we do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive.
I mean, this is very good.
It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and he did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christys tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates, 5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight.
On the unpredictable.
What did she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
Welcome back to Patrick Christys tonight, a late edition with me, Alex Armstrong. Right, should we go to the front page of The Guardian here? Because this is the other part of the story that we've been teasing all evening, isn't it? PM banks on £150 billion investment to placate critics of Trump visit. Now, on the face of it, and we were talking about this with Bev Turner earlier, and she made such a brilliant point that I hadn't even thought of. This is why she's so good for doing this stuff in America, is that this money, of course, is great, and we need the growth in the United Kingdom. It's the only way we can avoid more cuts as well. But it's mostly coming from Blackstone, a massive private investment firm, which is really not going to be good for the left wing of this country, is it?
They don't care. It's like Jessie J said. It's all about the money, money. You know, we know we're in a black hole, so let somebody fill it.
Right.
Well, I mean, I'm delighted. I'm delighted about the numbers. If this is all true, I'm all in favour of private equity funds.
Yep.
But if I was running a political strategy to try and placate a bunch of left-wing socialists, I don't think my go-to argument would be good news, guys. Got a massive multi-billion-pound private equity fund run by hardcore capitalists who are going to invest in the country. I don't think it will placate the critics of Trump at all. So good news. Yeah. But the hardcore critics are, I'm afraid, just never going to be persuaded of anything.
Do you know who else stepped in and criticised? I don't know if you said this already, but Nick Clegg called it sloppy seconds from Silicon Valley.
Oh, did
Can you
really?
believe that? Right. Clegg just popped up to criticise.
The bloke who literally spent the rest of his career over Silicon Valley. What a hypocrite. Honestly, you wouldn't believe it, would you, from Nick Clegg? But there we go. Well, I would believe it, actually, saying that. I really would. This is the thing, right? We all want growth. We all want this growth to take place. I want the growth in the country because I don't want the country to suffer anymore. However, the people on the left, or in the much further left, perhaps, of the Labour Party now, will be saying, these are all the wrong things. Where are the growth for the little man? Where's the growth for the little man? These are the big companies that dodge tax, and many of them will be saying, wealth tax, wealth tax, wealth tax.
No, the left of Labour don't care about the little man. That's the Tories. They know they like big business now. Have you not caught up? Yeah, this is, well, they say it's 7,600 new jobs, so, you know, the Labour people can't complain about that, can they? And they might not like the fact there's Palantir, Peter Thiel, who's like not exactly a Labour type of guy, is he? He's sort of very libertarian. He talks about the Antichrist a lot, I'm not quite sure why.
Yeah, he does have a big, weird obsession with the Antichrist.
Yeah. But anyway, but Starmer, you don't know anything about this, is how Starmer seems to do semi-well on the international stage, even though he's disaster here, disastrously low approval ratings, but he's sort of OK at this sort of stuff.
He's very good. He's positioned himself where we were a laughing stock under Boris.
Well, he's a diplomat, not a politician. That's why.
Yeah, and before, because Nina, you want to talk about something on the front page of The Guardian in just a second, but I did think this was really interesting. It's the changing nature of our world, isn't it? Tim Cook, the CEO of NVIDIA, was that Tim Cook, obviously the CEO of Apple, the CEO of NVIDIA, Microsoft. These are the real powerhouses of our world now. They are what drive the Western globalised economies, and that's going to send some people on there, I think, a complete meltdown when they see the list of people sat at that table. Really
extraordinary,
extraordinary, isn't it? Extraordinary. Yeah.
I just want to point out that there's a poem written by the former poet laureate on the occasion of the State Banquet, Carol Ann Duffy, and just bear with me because it may well be the menu apart from anything. It says, to start, fill it with Dover's sole, filled with salmon mousse, served on a bed of leeks with white wine sauce, poached Sandringham venison with truffles to follow, then key lime pie, and among the wines, Chateau Pichot, Longueville, Comtesse de Lalande, 1990, and then she says, yum, yum. Now, I thought that was a man.
Well, it rhymes.
Do you think this is Manson's next job, poet laureate?
That's actually not a bad idea. It's like, I mean, for the man can do everything, clearly, can't he? Manson's many talents, many talents. Look, I think what will be remembered tonight of all of it is this historical second visit, which I think, going back, Mark, you pointed something very briefly out to me, which is what I got wrong, I think.
This was interesting. It's just my interpretation. Trump at the end sort of said, well, this is my second visit, and I hope that's the last of it, sort of thing. Now, some people, I think, interpreted that as, I never want to come back to Britain. No, what he was pointing out was he's the only president to have had 2 state visits, and I think he wants to make sure that no future president beats that record.
That's the record.
I've set the record, I want to keep the record.
He wasn't saying, I never want to come back, I hate this island.
I hate it here, never let me know. He loves Britain, and we definitely, I think that was what I was going to say. The main takeaway is that he loves the United Kingdom, I think. Right, shall we go through your front pages one final time, shall we? The Guardian. Prime Minister banks on £150 billion investment to placate critics of Trump visit. The Daily Telegraph. Home Office Charities Guide for Migrants to Avoid Deportation. The Sun. It's the special bond. President hails UK at banquet as band plays 007. Another Bond there. Express. My respect for you and Britain. The Mail. Now, Home Secretary blasts lefty lawyers. The Independent. Britain wheels out the Windsors to play its royal trump card. The Mirror. Back on the streets. Maddie suspect freed. The Metro. Trump and circumstance. And that is it. There we go, that's all your headlines. It's been an incredible day, and to pay our own tribute to our very special visitor, here is the American national anthem played before President Trump at Windsor Castle earlier today.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello again and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. During the next 24 hours we can expect misty and damp weather to continue in the south whilst it stays mild. Further north, clearer, fresher but also very breezy as this area of low pressure moves into the north of Scotland. Isobars tighten, strong winds overnight along with heavy showers and longer spells of rain for the Northern Isles, the Outer Hebrides into the Northwest Highlands. But for the rest of Scotland, breezy, yes, however, all that combined with clear spells, as well as Northern Ireland, Northern England seeing clear spells at times overnight. In the south, Wales, across the Midlands, the south of England, it's going to be a misty night with a lot of low cloud, outbreaks of light rain and drizzle, but a mild start to Thursday with temperatures of 17 or 18 first thing. Now, the rain and drizzle across the south of England will ease through the morning. It will push further north into Wales, but for Northern England, Northern Ireland, as well as for much of the south and east of Scotland, plenty of bright weather first thing. However, there will be a keen breeze, and that strong wind across the north and northwest of Scotland will continue to drive heavy showers and longer spells of rain in as the day goes on, but those showers becoming fewer later on from the west. The rain in the south will move north, and so after a bright start to the day, Northern England, Southern Scotland, Northern Ireland turn wet into the afternoon. The rain not quite reaching the central belt, 18 Celsius here, but it's very warm in the south as skies brighten, 23 or 24 Celsius. An even warmer day expected on Friday in the southeast, with temperatures reaching the mid-20s in places. Likewise, it's bright but cool across much of Scotland, Northern Ireland, and for parts of northwest England, but in between there will be spells of wet weather through Friday, and that rain will be fairly extensive as we start the weekend before gradually getting drier next week.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
It's our biggest Great British giveaway to date. You could be driving away with this brand new Benamar Primera motorhome. This 4-berth home from home comes complete with integrated kitchen and bathroom areas and has all of the tech you'd expect from the latest 2025 model. We'll also give you an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash to make sure that any adventures you take in your new motorhome are taken in style. For a chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and